Dr. June Ramiko Klein has been a guiding light at Palo Alto University for almost 2 decades. An influential leader in the day-to-day business operations of one of the country's most respected mental health education institutions, Dr. Klein has cultivated a management of change philosophy that has not only motivated, but inspired those around her. A storied and celebrated career in nonprofit higher education, accolades naturally followed. In recent years, her work as Vice President for Business Affairs, as well as the university's Chief Financial Officer, garnered her CFO of the Year acclaim from the Silicon Valley Business Journal and from Financial Executives International, Silicon Valley. But it is the attention she provides away from her 9-to-5 that may be most influential. Passionate about diversity and multicultural and multi-faith dialogue, her impact reaches far beyond her professional acumen. Dr. Klein is a current board member of the Palo Alto Family YMCA and the Santa Clara County Behavioral Health Board. Her charitable actions, fundraising, and community service involvement has positively affected thousands of underserved individuals with severe mental illness and underserved youth, both in the Bay Area and beyond. Her amazing work continues to this day.
The goal of trying to change the world is a very common theme with educators and usually somewhere in the mission statement of most universities. My journey from the for-profit world, where I spent half my career, started with learning about how nonprofits, and specifically ones I admired, like the YMCA, Kiwanis Club, League of Women Voters, and of course the PTA, where I learned about the inequities in our public schools, but also met amazing kids that proved that education is the great equalizer. When I joined Palo Alto University, then Pacific Graduate School of Psychology, I began to learn about mental health. Our family had several generations of bipolar disorder and severe depression, but neither side, Japanese nor German, wanted to talk about it, so my husband and I knew very little growing up. When the suicide cluster happened in Palo Alto, I volunteered because it just made sense to me that the culture of not talking about it was not helping our kids. The work with Project Safety Net led to being nominated to be on the Santa Clara County Behavioral Health Board, which I have been honored to serve on for the last 4 years. I learned something every time I attend a meeting, and in the COVID-19 pandemic, where help does not reach those who are suffering the most, nor has the disease affected populations evenly, I'm even more motivated to help those most in need. I think in the age of cell phones, we have come to understand what it looks like to see the world in someone else's eyes. And it's frightening, actually. And I think it's good for us to see that. And so that's why I volunteer for all these different task forces, because I learn a lot. And it's good. It's good for my soul to try and help make that better. I think good leadership is very contextual. So every leader needs to understand the context within which they're working. And coming out of high technology, I was at one point enamored with Japanese management for manufacturing and quality control and root cause analysis. Thought I was going to do a doctorate at one point in Berkeley around that. And I still really believe that leaders should not make decisions until they understand the root cause. Similar to, I tell people when I'm looking at certain reports, I can tell the patient is sick and has a temperature, but I don't know why. You have to ask a lot of questions. You have to ask why 5 times. And so I think good leadership understands that there is a context. It may be a unique context, but they do need to ask a lot of questions and then be thoughtful. The other thing is, I've learned, particularly working at a school of psychology at a university focusing on psychology and counseling, that there's a lot of human emotions involved in managing people. I tell people all the time that my job is to help make you successful. So I look at myself as a servant leader. Not everyone does that. I'm not motivated by power of money, hence I'm in a nonprofit being the operative word. So I look at myself more as a servant leader with my goal to make the people who are trusting me to help them, to make them successful. So that's my goal. The same reason why you want faculty that look like their students. It's very difficult if no one you work for looks like you. And with 50+% women in the workforce, and if you look at higher education, it's closer to 60% of the students who are in college are women. What that means is that you have a diverse management stream coming on. I just want to say that women have a slightly different perspective because of the time clock. I mean, I can tell you right around 35, and maybe it's 40 now. In fact, my daughter says there are a lot of employers who offer to freeze your eggs. So great. But back in the day, that wasn't available. So 35, that was the talk around the water cooler. I don't even know if they have water coolers anymore. They probably don't. And we would say, have you planned on this? And what do you think about that? And then, there's chat with the doctor that you're an older mom, and what that means. So I do think there's this sort of perspective of having to deal with that's a little different than the men. This is the advice I would give to young people who have similar values, and probably the advice I would give to my 25-year-old self today. Make your choices, adjust, repeat. You cannot have it all, but you can focus on what is important to you. I'm honored to accept this award. For the last 30 years of my career, I have been trying to come to grips with the fact that I had to make choices around where I spend my time. I wanted to have a marriage, a family, a stable home life, and a fabulous career since I was in college. Dr. Brene Brown, in her latest book, Dare to Lead, shared her research on values and asked readers to pick their top 3. Mine are balance, which I interpreted as work-life balance, integrity, and making a difference, or in my words, changing the world. Those have been my choices for many years now, in that order. That was how I ended up in the nonprofit world, and specifically in education in 2002. I want to thank President Maureen O'Connor and President Emeritus Alan Calvin for supporting both my work at Palo Alto University, but also my work in the community. And thank you again to Mission College, whose vision and value statements have many of the same values that I am passionate about.